You read a story, probably in the New York Times. It goes something like this. Mr. Jorge San Diego of 1214 6th Avenue, age 14, fell to his death last night, according to police spokesman Raymond G. O'Brien of the 23rd Precinct. Mr. Jorge San Diego of 1214 6th Avenue, age 14, fell to his death last night, according to police spokesman Raymond G. O'Brien of the 23rd Precinct. That's the gray lady writing a story. I don't know what happens over there, but oftentimes, with a couple of the folks that John mentioned aside, they will flatten an experience which probably involved a young boy screaming and hitting the street with blood and guts and horror, comes out to a set of indisputable facts. So as a reader, you don't believe that the event in real life occurred where some guy's walking on the rooftop and falls over and everyone went 3/4, 5 3/4, San Diego, how do you spell the name, what's the age? It was a real blood-curdling event. So you add that element. You don't disbelieve the New York Times, they're telling you some. You then open up a magazine and somebody writes, Jorge San Diego, called Bird by his best friend Santo, because he liked to swing from roof to roof, took his first and last flight yesterday. The kind of overly written, empty gestural writing that makes everybody want to vomit. You know that that's sort of like the guy you meet all the time who's so taken with how he tells stories that he just, he bores you instantly with ornate speech. You know people like that story, and you know people like the New York Times, who will go see an extraordinary event and come out with a 7-word flat sentence which interests you not at all. You know you have to add to his story, and you know you have to subtract to the other. Or you can open the paper, and Mr. San Diego is not in the paper. He's just missing. His life and his death were apparently because of his class or because of his race or because something was so uninteresting that they didn't put it in. If you are a relative of Mr. San Diego, you have to scream out, I'm still here, I am alive, and sometimes people like me die. Hello? If nobody wants to write it down, then you have to find a friend to write it down. But you add there, big time. If, however, Mr. San Diego didn't die, there is no such person as Mr. San Diego, and that's in the newspaper, that's a lie. And the person who wrote that is a liar. And when you read it, do you say, well, I'll never read that newspaper again? I don't know. I'll never read that reporter again? No. I'll never trust that reporter again? Only so much as you never trust liars whom you've caught in a lie. No more, no less. You do it all the time in your real life, do it to journalists. When they do that, they deserve that. No more, no less. Or other ways you can evaluate. When you open up a newspaper or listen to the radio, you always ask yourself, well, why did they tell me this? Or why did you tell me this in the way that you just told me this? There was so much O.J., so much O.J., a lot of people figured, well, the reason there's O.J. is a lot of these companies need him. So they're just putting it on because they get, they can sell soap through O.J. And after O.J. with Lady Di, it's true. Maybe they bumped into O.J., but I work at one of these companies, and they, Lady Di was a big story for us because O.J. was a big story for us. And then Monica was a big story for us. They have something in common. They're continuing soap operas. They involve sex and violence. And they get conversations going in the country, and people talk about them. And then people who are trying to make money telling stories figure, you've all seen this must-see TV thing that they have on NBC. News guys would like to say, this is a must-see TV story. So anyway. Yeah, you can tell that there are certain business reasons why stories get told. You can tell that there are certain habits where people just like ticks go off and tell stories automatically. The hurricane coverage. I don't know what it is. Hurricanes come. I get like 70 people from 70 small markets rush down to the same windy beach, stand with the same rain pouring on their face. They're going to look, offer a same flagpole or something to hold on to, and they'll do that. Why do they do that? Because they do. It's like the person in your family who just always tells you this funny story about Aunt Fanny in the closet at Christmas time. There's some people who just get a tick, and they tell. Tick, tell. That's the kind of people that... In other words, learning about the world from news sources, I would argue, is not so different from learning about the world from your friends, from your family, from your teachers. It comes in an array of predictable biases and flavors and personalities. If you say, I don't believe any of them, anything they say, all journalism is a lie, I say, well, maybe. But compared to what? How do you ever find any story? How do you ever listen to this messy, noisy clamor of America talking to itself, as John talked about, and hear an unvarnished truth? I don't know that there is such a thing. So I say, here's the right posture, and I conclude with this. I don't trust completely what anybody tells me. But I want to hear what Mike Royko says, and I want to hear what Rush Limbaugh says, and I want to hear what Hunter Thompson says, and what CBS says, and what Oprah says, and what NPR says, and what Charlie Rose says. I want to hear what they all say, because I have eyes, because I have ears, because I have a brain, and I will edit them all by myself. Thank you, Robert.
Robert Krulwich, thank you.